Hi, and welcome to the video. Today I'm going to make a junk tower out of trash. A trash tower out of junk. Either way, I'm going to use these free crafting supplies I found in the bin. If you're new here, welcome to the video. And if you've come back for more, thank you so much and I'm glad to have you back. I'm learning very quickly that the crafting community is a group of wonderful people and I'm very happy to be a part of it. If you want to see more videos from me, make sure you click subscribe. My collection of minis is many, to say the least, and they've all committed heinous crimes, so therefore the characters selected to spend the rest of eternity inside this rusty tower will be Papa Smurf. You know what you did. Now, I didn't pull out this bag of matchsticks from the bin, but if you really wanted to, you could save up all of your burnt matchsticks from lighting candles and whatnot and use it for the same thing. The matchsticks were from a $2 shop, as well as these tiny icy pole sticks that I'm using for the platform at the top. But wait, enough about the $2 shop. I want to talk to you about trash. In this video I was hoping to share with you some of my favourite trash items I've been using to build. The first item are cassettes. Unless you're a cassette collector, cassettes are full of heaps of good trash that you can use for everyday builds, including tiny screws, cogs you can use for hubcaps, and these pre-riveted pieces of perfectly rectangular metal, as seen here to give a patchwork look to the front of the tower door. My next favourite bit of trash, and I think most crafters use this, is corrugated plastic. This is from a seaweed snack pack. The corrugations really help to bend the pieces of what will turn out to be corrugated sheet metal around the front of the tower with a sort of slapped together junkyard look. And thirdly, printers are a great source of trash. Recently we had hard rubbish in our area and heaps of people were throwing out their printers, so I collected some and smashed them to pieces to collect all of these great little bits. This printer roller will make the perfect satellite tower. I decided post gluing this together that I wanted to cut a hole and put a hatch on top. Thankfully the glue wasn't dry, so after some sort of pathetic slicing, I just pulled all the pieces of wood up and snapped them and made a little hole. This little part of a camera, I think it was like the battery thing, is going to make a perfect hatch because it's got this pre-built hinge. I put some rhinestones on the corners for some rivets and just gave it a bit of weathering. The leftovers from these soy lids that I used on the rustation are going to make a nice little seam around the satellite tower. I'm going to add some wood around the top to secure the platform. And I'm going to use these, I don't know what these are called, I have heard them referenced in other builds, but I've forgotten. Someone let me know in the comments what these bits are called. From the solar robot to add some some sort of scaffolding around the sides. Now in the comments everyone was kind enough to let me know about different ways to make super glue dry quickly. Unfortunately I made this video before any of those comments came out, so here's me trying to beat gravity with sheer force. This yellow bit is some kind of peg I found in the car park of a hardware store, and these little blue bits are some sort of hardware, miscellaneous hardware pieces from a $2 shop. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to add on these fence panelings. I didn't make quite enough. I'm not amazing at pre-planning, so here are the others drying underneath the weight of this cutting board thing. A little bead and a hoop mean the hatch door handle, and now my aerial's dry and this pirate radio station is nearly complete. There's not quite enough junk on this trash tower, so I'm going to harvest some more parts from the solar robot to strew around the building, on the build itself, and all around the base as terrain as well. Finally, my last two fence palings are dry. I'm just going to make sure that this fits and then secure it with hot glue. I'm putting this little wooden door frame around the front, and I'm realizing that maybe this looks too cute. Maybe trash towers don't have door frames, but maybe trash radio stations do. Some more printer with some wire wrapped around it to create this kind of electricity conductor. Perhaps this whole station is powered by a lightning strike, and now we can connect to all the other pirate radio stations in the area. A little pen lid is some kind of electricity coil. In consulting with Anita, I rhinestoned the whole of the building to give it this giant bolt kind of look. Sanding down this sort of dodgy edge of the base, and now it's time to add some terrain. Got these leftover rocks from the miniature desk build. Gonna place some choice boulders around and then fill in some of the gaps with pieces of plastic junk and little tiny rocks. Considering that all of my minis are criminals, I couldn't let this barge pole be in the hands of this dinosaur fireman any longer. So it's now become junk around the base. Got some other bits of plastic crap and some more solar robot parts to give some great detail. I really want this building to look like there's been really strong gusts of winds that have just blown all of this trash around. I'm hoping to make it kind of like sandy, sandstorm kind of weathered building. I'm going to put some bolts and some screws in some choice places just to give it some extra detail. Some more of this plastic bit. A nice little chain. Now for the lightning rod, this bit of stopper from an IKEA bed. Alright, so I gave the model a bit of a slop over with some Mod Podge and some black paint just to secure everything down, and then I primed it in a grey primer. Now I'm going to paint the wood parts in brown, and I'm going to paint this sort of rocky area brown as well. Including some blue paint on some of these choice robot parts. Here's a cheap and nasty metallic paint that I'm going to slop all over the metal panels just to give them the once were a shiny piece of metal look underneath all the rust and sand. Speaking of rust, here it is. Mix some brown and some burgundy together and slopped it all over, leaving little bits of patches of colour coming through on the robot bits and on some of the panels. I think it's looking quite weathered and good. This brown is a little bit dark, so I think I'm going to lighten it up with some sandy colours. I'm going to add this lighter brown on top of this dark brown and put the lighter brown all over the ground because it's going to be the sandy kind of sandy based terrain. It's going to be sand, the sand everywhere. Same sort of world as the Rust Station would have lived in. And recently I went and bought some new paint, including this gorgeous little cream, very like light peanut butter kind of colour. It's going to go over the rockier parts and around the front, and now it is looking a bit more sandy. I think it's sort of scrubbing up quite nice, so like bits of sand, blobs everywhere. Here's some barbed wire I prepared earlier. If you haven't seen how I make barbed wire, I highly recommend you check out my Rust Station video. I show you my technique, stabbing myself with small wires. Now I realized that I probably want to make some curled wire to go around the top of the tower, so I realized you could twist this delicately around a paintbrush or anything else cylindrical, and then you kind of squish it together and manipulate it in order to form the right sized hoops to fit over your railings. This is the first one. It was a little bit dodgy. The other ones I did later were much better, but of course I didn't film them. I don't think the people that occupy this tower are the most perfectionist. Kind of just wedged it on there, and now I realize I've got to make a lot more to fit around the whole top. But it's looking quite good so far. Looking like a dirty, dusty place. I added some more different colors to give it a little bit of differentiation from all the blobs of brown. Here's a top view. Now I'm going to apply this sort of black oil sludge wash. It's just acrylic paint and water. I'm still getting used to how to paint stuff, and I've gone a bit overboard, but I like the way it looks like something's, you know, these parts weren't cleaned when they were put together. Some more barbed wire wrapped around all the tops of the fence posts. Looks quite fearsome. Looks pretty nasty. Now to add the final ingredient. To sprinkle these beautiful granules all over this model, I'm going to apply a thin layer of PVA glue. I've been going on and on about trash in this video, but there are definitely some creators I need to mention that have inspired me to look at trash in a very different way. Creators including Scratch Bashing and STUDON Studio. Both of them have a very good trash eye, and they can turn anything into a beautiful creation. I'm hoping to sharpen my skills the more that I pick up things from the ground and turn them into builds. Now by this time I've really leaned into the fact that this is undeniably a pirate radio station. I think that it's definitely the most appropriate theme for this build. It is roughly 28mm scale, although some of the bits are probably a little bit too big. However, it's perfect for the lawless wasteland that is the tabletop game I'm involved in at the moment, and I think a radio station would fit in quite well. But what is this radio station called? I have no idea, so put your suggestions in the comments and I'll pick the best one.